This is Mike Litman, and I am just absolutely on fire and excited that you're listening right now to another great month of Conversations with Millionaires Monthly. I always start off by saying, I have to admit that I get excited many times each month. I love what I do. But every time, every new Conversation with Millionaires Monthly, it really jazzes me up. It really inspires me. I'm really shaking and baking to a big level here. I got my own peach Snapple. You get your own beverage of your choice, because I love bringing you people who are doing not ordinary but extraordinary things. And I'm going to share with you an individual here today, here this month, that's absolutely going to inspire you, that when you hear his story, what you're going to realize without a shadow of a doubt is that you can do some absolutely, absolutely amazing things. Now, the story that I'm going to share with you is an individual who spent a large percentage of his adult life in the corporate world. And when you really kind of get an idea of how does somebody go, like most of us were, from a corporate kind of employee working at a job to building a multi-million-dollar business in less time than most businesses take a lot longer to get to these levels, and having transformed the lives and have made the lives of small business owners around the world much easier and much simpler and much better and much more profitable. What Rick Raddatz has done is a testament to the true power that's in each of us that allows us as entrepreneurs, as individuals, to grow and not only to build a great income, but what Rick has done is really allow himself to really pour value and a great contribution to other people's lives. So, Rick, thank you very much for being here today and spending some time with us.
Well, thank you very much. I'm so happy to be here. You've been a hero of mine for years, and I've been watching you, and so I'm very proud to be here.
Good. Well, thank you for that. I've mentioned here that you work in Microsoft, that you've done things with, I guess, one of the biggest companies of the modern day era. I want us to lay a foundation here. I want them to know who is Rick Raddatz. So can you just kind of give us a Cliff Notes version, a little bit of what's your story, where did you start, where are you now, and we'll dance from there.
Well, sure. I mean, I started off as a simple computer programmer. I had a college degree, and luckily enough, I got recruited into Microsoft. And so I worked there as a summer intern in 88, 89, 90, and then full-time from 90 to 2000. So, 10 to 12 years, depending on how you count it, at one of the best companies in the world. And I saw a lot of different parts of that company and learned a lot. And then, but I always had this bug to start my own company, and finally had the courage in about 2000 to leave Microsoft, help my father out a little bit, and then started my own company finally in 2002.
And one of the things here that people will become aware of as our conversation unfolds and develops here today, but before we even get that, you're making it sound simple. Mm-hmm. And what I know is that you talk about this bug, this entrepreneurial bug you have. Yeah. And what's interesting is that the person listening to mine and your voice right now is only listening for one reason. Is either they have that bug and it hasn't been cultivated and explored and unfolded yet, or they've already taken action on that bug and they're looking to build a successful business. First off, I know from my own background that leaving that safe, quote-unquote, secure, quote-unquote, job is not the easiest thing since making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. It's not easy. There's somebody listening right now that's saying, you know what, I've been in the call. I'm 52 years old. I'm 48 years old. I've been at a few jobs for 15 years now. I would love to kind of put myself in a position to leave a job and to really do something I love. Take us through that process. Was it easy for you? Was it tough for you? What were the questions you asked yourself? And what are your suggestions for someone who's in your shoes today, the same shoes you were in 6 or 7 years ago?
That's a great question. I think I have a really good answer because I struggled with this question for years at Microsoft. I loved working there, and so I'll never talk badly about Microsoft and my experience there, but that wasn't the right environment for me. I wanted to get out of there so badly for so long, for like at least 5 years before I actually left. But the truth was I was afraid to leave that safe environment and start my own company because I thought you had to have the marketing power of a big company behind you in order to succeed. But the truth is, you don't have to succeed on the level of a Microsoft or any other big company to succeed on your own. You just need to generate enough cash flow to pay your bills. And once you achieve that first milestone, once you have positive cash flow for your lifestyle and your business as well, then all these opportunities unfold that you never would have guessed. And so I've come to call this Rick's Law of Optimism. And, you've heard of the law of attraction, the law of this, the law of that, and so on. My version of that is the law of optimism, and what it says is that there are good things that can happen to you and bad things. And the bad things that can happen to you, you can pretty much manage that risk. Okay, it's called risk management. You can pretty much set yourself up so that the bad things that happen to you are managed. But the good things that happen to you, you can welcome. And so, on average, if you just get out there and put yourself, outside of that safety net and into your own business and go for it, you'll be surprised on the upside by all the things that happen to you, and you just have to welcome those good things, and your business grows.
You know what's so interesting you said here is that you had these assumptions. You had, I need to have this big marketing powerhouse behind me. Maybe I need to be in a strategic alliance with 4 or 5 gigantic companies, whatever the case may be. Mm-hmm. And the unfortunate thing is that we grow up in a culture, we grow up in a world where the assumptions that we're sold, the facts and the truth, really the facts that we sold turn out to be erroneous, and the assumptions that we buy into turn out to be false. And you're saying some things here now that if you don't go through and understand this process and don't get through this stage successfully, you're never going to experience some of those greater fruits that the entrepreneurial tree can give you. But let's say on this concept of assumptions. It's my contention, I'd like to know your thoughts on this, Rick, based on your experience. It's my contention that we are sold a paradigm, a way of looking at the world that doesn't work anymore. That go to get a job and get benefits and stay there for 30 years and get a company watch. It doesn't exist anymore. It's one of these kind of things we've been sold. And we're also sold, like your assumption here. We're also sold, well, growing a business, might take me 5 years to, I might have to make a $300,000 investment. It might cost me $500,000 to start a business. I need to have a ton of money to start a business. I have to start a business full time. So, how am I going to replace that money? If you can just kind of comment, you have a very unique viewpoint, having worked with tens of thousands of small businesses. Do you think that you can have a more current mindset, that kind of this old-fashioned mindset doesn't work anymore? And I'd like to know your thoughts on challenging assumptions and being an entrepreneur.
Yeah, you know what? I think the world is even worse than you painted out, because it's not just that the world has changed. It's that even though the world has changed, it's still a challenge to go out on your own, even if you know it in your mind that you should. And I'll prove that. My father was an entrepreneur. My grandfather was an entrepreneur. My great-grandfather was an entrepreneur. Okay, so I come from an entrepreneurial family. So if you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, well, I had the rich dad, not necessarily in terms of finance any given year, but in terms of the rich mindset, in terms of all those core principles. And so I knew that I was told all these things growing up. And you know what? I fought against it, because I think it's partly our instinct. Society has pressures that way. And so I remember telling my dad when I was 18 that I was never going to be an entrepreneur. Okay, because I didn't want to work that many hours. I didn't want to be away from family, and because that's how I saw him. Because when the business goes south a little bit, you have to re-engage, right? And so I wanted to be anything but an entrepreneur when I left home. And so here I am, an entrepreneur. And so what happened was I finally figured it out, is that I thought that entrepreneurship meant that you had to work long hours. But the truth is, if your business is designed wrong, then you have to work long hours.
Say that again. Again.
I thought that being an entrepreneur meant having to work long hours, and it meant risk, etc. But the truth is, a poorly designed business results in long hours and lots of risk. If you take the advice of people like yourself, the people that you interview, other people around the scene here, you're going to get, a piece by piece, an image in your head of what has to be done. And the things that you hear over and over again, you know what? Just trust them, believe in them, because like Rick's Law of Optimism says here, if you just go out there and try it, you will learn, you'll scrape your knees, but on average, good things will happen to you, and things will just work out.